The second article in the Pennsylvania Constitution, second section in Article 1, is political powers. All power is inherent in the people. You and I. Not the government, you and I. And all free governments are founded on their authority, your authority, my authority, and instituted for their peace, safety, and happiness. For the advancement of these ends, they have at all times an inalienable and indefeasible right to alter, reform, or abolish their government in such manner as they may seem proper. Now, some might say, well, that means that government can decide what can be done, and they have the power to regulate and license and do all sorts of things. But in reality, the true meaning of that is found in the 1776 Constitution, the first sentence in the introduction to that Constitution. And it says the following: whereas all governments ought to be instituted and supported for the safety and protection of the community as such, and to enable the individuals who comprise it to enjoy their natural rights and all the other blessings which the author of existence has bestowed upon man. We are the sovereigns, not the government. And as the sovereigns, we need to help those who are our agents understand what their duties and responsibilities are. Now, you might say, well, he's just making all this up. Well, I would encourage you to read the state constitution and also a few cases. Now, I'm not a great believer in case opinion, but there are a number who support the law. In Article 1, Section 25, it says this: to guard against transgressions of the high powers which we have delegated, we declare that everything in this article is accepted out of the general powers of government and shall forever remain inviolate. The founders knew that government tends to corrupt, to become corrupt. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? Now, lest you think that that doesn't really mean what it says, let's see what the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania said in 1903. If you don't believe this, look it up. It's Erdman versus Mitchell. You can find it in the law library. The holding was this: under the Declaration of Rights of the Constitution of Pennsylvania, the rights of the workman to the free use of his hands is a right which neither the legislature or a trade union can take from him, and one which it was the bounden duty of the courts to protect. Now, this case had to do with a trade union in Philadelphia that wanted to go on strike in order to make more money. And a number of the workers decided they didn't want to go on strike, and they took it to court. And the Supreme Court said, no, the legislature nor the trade union cannot legislate or take away a man's right to work and to acquire property and to use it the way he wants to. In fact, they said they didn't trust, when they wrote this Article 1, Section 25, they made it very clear that the people did not trust the legislature to minimize or fritter away our rights. But guess what? We've let them do it. We've got to take it back. We've got to help those in the legislature at every level understand that they took an oath of office to support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth. And at least they got to read it. All right? Don't look to an attorney. They're the ones that have been driving us into this hole. So let's look to ourselves to understand and follow the Constitution and have those who represent us in all levels do the same. I want to tell you a little story briefly. In 1995, I read an editorial in the newspaper in Westchester, and the title of it was "Red Tape Chokes True Liberty." And it starts out by saying this: true liberty and freedom is the ability to do something without a permit, a license, or report from or to government. I'd agree with that, wouldn't you? Look at your daily lives and activities. What can you do without a license or permit from government? Wow, not much. Well, this author went on to write a rather extensive list of about 25 licenses and permits that you had to have in order to take your dog to the shore and fish and have a couple of beers. And then he closed out his article by saying this: "Ah, the simple pleasures of life, to walk your dog on the beach and fish. Our founding fathers would be so pleased that only 200 years later, our government has done so much to so many for so long." Perhaps Congress and the state legislature should pass one new law this year, a law that repeals all laws passed since 1950. Think of it as a spring house cleaning. We seem to have lost all notions of freedom and liberty, end quote. Now, the author of that editorial was a common pleas judge, James P. McRae II. Common pleas judge in Chester County. I wish that he truly was a constitutional judge, and I also wish that more judges and attorneys would follow his lead. However, when I asked him about this article, I said, "I agree with your article, it's really great, but that date, 1950, ought to be changed to 1860. But that's when the shenanigans really started. We, the people, have the power." I confirmed that, right? All power is in the people. You can't change a right into a crime unless we let them do it. There are all sorts of case decisions that prove that. In an old case, in fact, you may remember this case, Marbury versus Madison. Chief Justice Marshall in 1803 said this: "The framers of the Constitution contemplated the instrument as a rule of government of courts as well as the legislature. Why does a judge swear to discharge his duties agreeable to the Constitution of the United States," and I added, "or Pennsylvania, if that Constitution forms no rule of his government? If such is the real state of things, that is worse than a solemn mockery. To prescribe or take an oath is equally a crime. Thus, the particular phraseology of the Constitution of the United States, or Pennsylvania, confirm and strengthen the principle supposed to be essential to all written constitutions. Courts, as well as other departments, are bound by that instrument. But we, the people, must insist and demand that they follow it." I added that commentary. We can only be free if we're willing to take the effort. I think it was commented earlier that when Benjamin Franklin walked out of the convention in 1776, we have a republic if we can keep it. I wasn't there, but I assume that's correct. Another founding father named Patrick Henry said, "Give me liberty or give me death." Now, many of you may not know when he first said that. He first made that comment when he rode into Culpeper, Virginia in March of 1775 and saw a man lashed to a pole being whipped to death. And he asked an onlooker, "What in the world has that individual done to deserve such serious scourging?" And the onlooker said, "He's refused to take a license. He's a pastor who's refused to take a license to preach." The Royalists, in fact, beat that man to death. He died 3 days later. Patrick Henry repeated that in the House of Burgesses, which in fact spurred Virginia into the War for Independence. And he said, "What is it the gentleman wishes? What would they have? Is life so dear, or peace so sweet, as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery? Forbid it, Almighty God, I know what course others might take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death." Put in the Declaration of Independence in the last sentence the following. It says, "In the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor." I suggest that that's what we need today, that we all continue this effort that we've started today and make it grow by networking and joining with others. Don't let this effort dwindle and die. We need to grow and pledge our fortunes, our lives, and our sacred honor to freedom and liberty. In fact, you may recall on the Liberty Bell, this is said, "Proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof." I suggest that's what we do. May God bless us all in this very, very difficult and important effort.